So in this position, I'm just backing up a couple moves. This game is Tal, the one and only Tal, against Karpov again. So Karpov played rook e8. Bishop g5 is Tal's predictable move. And without even thinking about it, probably, Karpov played bishop e6. Or maybe he calculated and miscalculated, but I kind of doubt it. I have a feeling that he missed some candidate moves here. So he's playing Mikhail Tal, who at this point should be pretty famous. I mean, we're talking about this in retrospect. It's really easy to knock Karpov from my chair in my room in 2020. But I really think that if you're going to play bishop e6, there are certain moves that you just have to consider. So what are the candidate moves for white here? Modasem says he has step 1, but he didn't get around to do it. I highly recommend that you finish that book. It's a weekend task, and it's just the basics. Really pretty good. But I do think that in the step method books, if you skip the route planning stuff, I think the theory about route planning being helpful for your chess improvement is pretty dubious at best. I don't think it's really important. All right, Future Master said, but currently I'm reading Nimzovich's Chess Praxis. I don't know if I should interpret the but as an objection. I think it's good to read more than one book at a time sometimes. I have a big stack right here. All right, so Modasem said route planning. There are some examples where they say find a safe path, where you have to move a piece from A to B without getting taken. I think it's really dubious to say that this kind of thing will help you improve in chess. Because, like I said, long plan generally means wrong plan. So practicing long planning doesn't really... I mean, it's fun. I like it. But I don't think it's chess improvement. Anyway, so candidate moves for white. Let's get it. How are we going to ruin black's day here? All right, so we got d5. Although it has to have an idea behind it. d5 looks like a tactical resource, but I'm not sure it has like its own distinct good idea. They have two ways to take it. All right, Atarv has an idea, which is c4. Maybe he's preparing d5. Although I must point out that black has a bishop on g7. It's good to take it slow with these things. You don't want to really pick candidates that don't have an idea behind them, because while they should be easy to eliminate because they don't have really any substance, you still have to spend time to eliminate them. So Foxanama says rook e6 looks like Tal. That's true, but sometimes Tal plays the endgame. And when he does, it's a fireworks show. There's a good book with several of Tal's endgames. It's called Learn from the Legends by Mikhail Marin, who is probably the most underrated chess author. I'm voicing this opinion for the first time. I might have to eat my words later, but I really think he's pretty super and not well known. All right, so Inner Mirror says pin the knight and try for the fork on d5. So pin the knight meaning bishop b5, probably, because queen a4 is not really a pin. So that's a tactical resource, bishop b5, that's a pin. Modasem seems to agree. Nice. Any other ideas, guys? Ideas don't have to be tactical ideas either. They can be just positional strategic ideas. For example, all right, queen d2, that's a strategic idea. Makes sense. Queen d2 is probably insinuating that you want to play bishop h6 and eliminate this bishop, which could actually go quite in line with Atarv's idea of playing c4. All right, queen b3 blunders a queen. I would only do that if it was some really great reason to move that bishop. All right, Inner Mirror says that something is giving black a pawn on c3. A lot of strong players, especially Mikhail Tal, who's carrying the white pieces here, they don't really regard pawns that much. Like, if they have to choose between giving up a pawn or playing a passive position, they will probably 90% of the time choose to lose a pawn. So Remember, at the beginning I said when you're evaluating a position, you should consider king safety first, piece activity second, and material third. These are the three most important. So we have to consider all three. So if you lose a pawn, probably you shouldn't cry if you get an attack on their king, active pieces. I mean, you can only sacrifice a pawn 8 times in a game, but, you know, you have to at least consider it. Improving in chess is, to a great extent, a process of seeing more and more ideas and understanding them well so you can use them in a game. All right, Obama ate my change, came back, and said that rook e6 is the most fun move. That's a candidate move. Did you consider other moves? It's okay if you didn't. But in the game, he played exactly rook e6. So I think that Karpov probably didn't spot the candidate move. He's like, I need to move my bishop. Where am I going to put it? I know, I'm going to put it on e6. Maybe, again, he doesn't want to give up the bishop pair, right? He's playing bishop e6 instead of bishop g4. If he played bishop g4, which is probably not a terrible move, after h3, he has to either retreat or take this one. But losing the bishop pair in an open position is certainly not advisable. But black would have counterplay against these pawns after something like rook c8. Although, again, I haven't calculated or analyzed this. I only prepared to show you this mistake that he made. I mean, maybe it's not a mistake, but I think that he missed this candidate move. And bishop c4 is more precise than queen b3. And the idea, for anyone who feels utterly shocked that someone would give up a rook for a bishop, the idea is that at the price of one rook for a bishop, you saddle black with weak doubled pawns. They're not just any doubled pawns. Some doubled pawns are good, but these are quite weak because they're easy to attack and hard to mobilize. And you get the initiative. Initiative's a little bit of a hard concept if you are new to chess, but it basically means you're just going to keep hammering them. They are not going to see any rest. That's a fairly small price to pay for just an exchange, right? You know, a bishop and a rook, they're both long-range pieces. They're both just one piece. It's not like you sacrifice 3 pieces. And if you think about it, you can kind of count on getting this e6 pawn back at some point. So after knight d2, I guess maybe looking at this position, you do need to have some positional understanding to choose rook e6. But the first step is to just consider rook e6. You shouldn't categorically reject any kind of moves. In some positions, moves are going to be good when they're bad in practically every other instance. I think I'll show the rest of the game very quickly, just in brief. Now, after knight e4, Tal has extremely active pieces, even though the c3 pawn is... Well, actually, the c3 pawn is not hanging, but basically the e6 pawn I meant was hanging. But he's not taking it because it's just a weak pawn. He's first activating all of his pieces. And so Karpov is kind of struggling to get rid of his weaknesses. And Tal is making headway on the king side. And as you know, Harry goes up the board, and here comes the checkmating attack. It doesn't feel like white is down in exchange, right? All of their remaining pieces are in perfect harmony. So it's kind of like you don't even miss the rook if you have very good compensation. Okay, so knight g3 is attacking the rook, but they can just take the rook for free, right? An example of good candidate moves, actually. He sees that after queen takes e1, there's not really anything to stop queen h7. They had to play h6, and after bishop h6, if they take it, that's an instant mate. You guys might remember this mate from somewhere. You know, it's kind of like we might have seen it. Somewhere, just somewhere. And after king g8, bishop g7, they can't take it back. So it was a complete disaster. And this one, we might have seen this checkmate too. So they played rook f2, which is pretty desperate. And after queen h7, there was a flurry and a slurry of checks. And Karpov resigned here. Can't imagine why. So another candidate move moment from Karpov.